Swords and magic and stuff. You could say that you get the feel for this RPG from the name alone. It's not a game to be taken too seriously. However, that's not to say that this is a game without thought. Swords and magic and stuff takes a lot of RPG elements and bundles them together into a relaxing experience. Having just been released into early access, well, is it any good? Let's take a look in this review of the early parts of the game. Stick around for the score at the end and subscribe to the channel to be a little swordy legend and stuff. Take on the role of an adventurer, arriving at a new island with the word of a missing king and not a lot more information to sink your teeth into. Leave the ship and you will quickly get a feel for how beautiful the world and area is around in Swords and Magic. I'm going to call it that for short to save time. Before you know it, you're on a quest to retrieve some kind of beverage, presumably alcohol, for the captain to ease his sorrows after a long journey. Quests are going to form the very essence of your playthrough of Swords and Magic, and you work your way through different chores to progress further into different arcs of storylines. Although for my part, those storylines can be quite limited in their depth. You will be clearing crabs, delivering notes, looking for lost pals, and solving mysteries of missing toys early on in this adventure. You could perhaps see that as mundane, but as with all quests, there is the promise of glory awaiting you upon completing these missions. Swords and Magic is your classic open RPG in that it lets you decide how and when you're going to complete each set of quests. The NPCs don't change too much with your interactions, and indeed there seems to be one gentleman who is having an all-night bender that is lasting quite some days. Must be the juice. There are guards, alchemists, hunters, and more waiting for you to help them out in some way or another for the promise of a reward. To be fair, there's not a lot of unique RPG elements in Swords and Magic that will surprise you, but it doesn't feel like it needs it. So let's look into whether the gameplay is fun. Fighting in Swords and Magic is okay and plays this sort of simplistic action fighting mechanism, although there are cooldowns between swings and enemy attacks. If you're equipped with a sword, as I mostly am, you try to strike and then dodge or block the enemy's attack. Doing so raises your proficiency with that weapon or style, and killing the enemies gives you some kind of reward for selling or crafting. One of my qualms playing through the early parts of the game is that I haven't experienced all that much of a power boost when facing off against the very aggressive rats and boars. Despite raising into the double-digit levels of proficiency with the sword, my hits are still pretty timid unless rolling a critical strike, and a single rat can easily take me down half of my health if I miss a dodge. Saying that, I haven't explored too deep into the crafting and upgrading system, so I'm hoping I'm not too far away from being able to steamroll my way through the rats, given how many I have defeated along the way. Exploring is the real fun part of Swords and Magic, and a lot of this comes down to the way in which the world is designed, both strategically with map layout and just the downright gorgeous graphics and art of this game. Finding different characters to interact with and new interesting environments is just a joy to behold, and the music, although it does cut out at weird times, just adds to the melodic experience. Each time I jump back into Swords and Magic, I'm just looking forward to discovering a new little hideout to explore. Swords and Magic is in early access, and there will be some places that you do not have access yet, such as the fishing component. Boy oh boy do I want to do the hinted quest of catching the beast of the ocean. There are some frame drops that I've experienced, but only in the dock area and by no means making any of the game unplayable. I've really enjoyed my time in the game, and I have to say that as someone playing through single player, I feel this is an RPG that would shine playing through with friends and having a relaxing time together. I have found the repetitiveness of the monsters to be slightly dull, and a big part of that has been the numerous rats sending me back to respawn points alongside the crabs and boars. Perhaps with a friend they become a lot easier to take out, so you can go through a little bit more quickly. Quests, whilst fun, can be quite simple in their nature. Indeed, one quest is simply taking a letter from one character to another, and I look forward to finally unlocking the horse when the stingy mayor finally lets me do so. I'm going to keep playing through to explore more, and if anyone in the Southern Hemisphere is looking for a co-op partner, hit me up in the comments or Discord below, as I feel like that's part of the game I need to experience. Swords and Magic is early access, as I said earlier, and there's lots of promise to this game, with hopefully more to come. I'm going to give the early parts of the game 4 out of 5 stars presently, although that could definitely rise with my own added experience with multiplayer, and if there are some really cool updates to come along the way. Are you a big fan of Swords and Magic and stuff? Well, let me know your thoughts of the game in the comments below. How many stars would you give this relaxing, gorgeous RPG game?